What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex Yu and you're watching the Ragin Ronin review. In this video, I will be giving you guys a top 10 list. It's been a while since I've done a top 10 list and I really enjoy doing them for you guys, and I think that now is a very appropriate time for me to give you this list because it is for my top 10 R-rated comic book films. Comic book films are, of course, all the rage now. There's so many of them. As a matter of fact, this year, 2016, is the biggest year in comic book films. From high-flying superheroes to masked vigilantes, we got all these different studios competing against each other with their characters, bringing them into one big superhero showdown. Not only that, 2016 is the year in which Deadpool comes out, one of the most highly anticipated comic book films, and it just so happens to be now the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. So we got to talk about this. I'm going to let you guys know where Deadpool ranks in this top 10 list. So without further ado, here is my top 10 R-rated comic book films. And we're going to start off with number 10, and that would be Kingsman, the Secret Service, directed by Matthew Vaughn. It came out last year in 2015, and it is based off of the comic book series The Secret Service from Icon Comics from Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons. And I'm actually not familiar with the source material, but I really enjoyed this film for its over-the-top action. And while it's not a perfect film, it was just entertaining throughout. And that church sequence, you know which scene I'm talking about, that just blew my mind. I don't even know how they filmed it, but it was crazy. It was absolutely nuts, and there was just so much action in this movie. And it's kind of breath of fresh air that they really took the violence and the action to a whole other level. It was crazy and highly enjoyable. So that is number 10. Number 9 is Blade, directed by Stephen Norrington, which came out in 1998, starring Wesley Snipes, based off of the Marvel comics, created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. And I think that Blade is a very significant film, mainly because it is a film that destroyed the negative comic book film. I guess a huge string of comic book films that weren't very good. Everything before Blade was not good. Okay, everything from Blade to the next point on was actually decent. Well, except for like movies like the Fantastic Four films and Elektra, but still, Blade was a great film. And it was a really cool film. It's not anything that I could ever imagined to have expected, because once that opening sequence came on with that club scene and all the vampires and the dripping blood, I was just thinking to myself, this is a really cool film. And it's just cool throughout. There's a lot of action, and I think there's a really great story to it. So I enjoyed it, and I think that it's a really, really great film. All right, moving on, we're going to go to number 8, and that would be Wanted, directed by Timur Bekmambetov, and that came out in 2008, and it's based off of Wanted from Top Cow. It's a limited comic book series from Mark Millar. And once again, this is another comic book property that I'm not familiar with. I'm not familiar with the source material, but just like Kingsman, The Secret Service, we got that signature style from Mark Millar, and that is ultra violence. This is a very, very violent film, but it is action-packed. It's totally over the top, and I really liked it. I really liked the comedy in it. I like the characters. I like the stylized action, and I think that director Timur Bekmambetov really brought the visual style to like a whole other level with all the crazy things that they did in this film, from the gunplay to the martial arts action to the car chase, which was absolutely nuts. But anyways, thoroughly enjoyable. I really liked it. Number 7 is Watchmen, directed by Zack Snyder. Came out in 2009, and it's based off of the limited comic book series from DC Comics by Alan Moore. And this was also another film that I felt coming out of the theater was not what I expected. In fact, when I came out of the theater, I was like, okay, this is kind of weird. But later on, when I watched more of it again and again on Blu-ray, I actually enjoyed it. And I felt that this is a very unconventional style of storytelling, and also it's not what we're used to in terms of the heroics of this film. It's a very different style of comic book film and comic book heroes. It's very, very violent. It's very dark. It's very edgy. And it's not what you would expect. It's not a film which progresses towards a, I guess, a positive outcome. It's like I said, it's a very dark film, and because of that, a lot of what you see is really brings that darkness to life, especially because of Zack Snyder's vision, his style, and the comic book itself was also very, very dark. So what we ended up getting is nothing like what you would ever see from Marvel. Okay, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, I really liked Watchmen. I love that it was very different from what we're used to. Okay, number 6 is 300. 300 is directed by Zack Snyder, came out in 2007, and it is based off of the limited comic book series from Frank Miller from Dark Horse Comics, and it ended up being one of my favorite films of that year. I love the visual style. I love that it was just so action-packed, and I love that this film really put Zack Snyder on the map. And even though Dawn of the Dead was a really great film, this film really defined him as a visionary director. And what he did was just made the sword and sandals genre look cool. And when you watch this film, all you can think about is how cool the movie looks. Not just in the tone and atmosphere, but we have a really cool character there, and that is King Leonidas. He is a very iconic hero, and what he does in this movie, along with leading his men into battle, was just absolutely a feast for your eyes. So really enjoyed it in that sense. All right, we're moving on to number 5, and that is The Crow, directed by Alex Proyas. It came out in 1994, and it's based off of the comic book series from James O'Barr from Caliber Comics. And I actually didn't read the original source material, but I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was a very dark film. I love the dark and gothic tone that this film has. In fact, I love the direction from Alex Proyas, and I think that this is Alex Proyas' best film before he started directing crap like Gods of Egypt. But this is a really good film, and a lot of it lends to his direction. I think his direction needs to be praised because of the way the movie is, the direction and the performances, and just the overall look and feel of this film. It's a classic revenge tale with supernatural elements to it, and the whole thing just works from the look of the film to the violent nature of everything that takes place in it, and it is a film that I would say inspired a lot of other films, inspired a lot of the visual style of a lot of films that come later on. So great film. I think it's a little bit underrated. I think a lot of people should watch this and really appreciate it for what it is. We're going to move on to number 4, and that is V for Vendetta, directed by James McTeague, which came out in 2006. It's written and produced by the Wachowski brothers, and is based, of course, off the graphic novel from Vertigo Comics by Alan Moore and David Lloyd. And this film is one that I really love, and it's mainly because of almost everything about it. I love dystopian future films. I really enjoy the fact that it has a very strong political and social message. Natalie Portman and Hugo Weaving were awesome in it. I love the fact that Hugo Weaving doesn't reveal himself beyond that mask, and he just does such a great performance as V. So it's a film that is not full of action, but I think what drives this film is really the characters, and it's one that really it's very memorable. So I actually love watching this movie again and again. I really don't mind rewatching it, and every time I watch it, I enjoy it. So V for Vendetta is number 4. Number 3 is KickAss, from another one from director Matthew Vaughn. It came out in 2010. And it is based off of the comic book series from Mark Miller and John Romita Jr. from Icon Comics. And this one caught me by surprise. It ended up being one of my favorite films of 2010, and I love the comedy in it. I love the ultra violence. I love that it's like the superhero story of the regular Joe, the regular guy, just wanting to be a superhero, but it's a very tough job, and I love that concept. And it ended up being a really great film. And what's great about it is that Hit Girl, one of the most unexpected heroes, steals the show. You don't expect her to be you don't expect her to steal the show mainly because of her age. She's played by a very young Chloe Grace Moretz, and she just dominates. And she ends up being such a memorable character. Loved KickAss, and it's unfortunate the sequel wasn't as great. Now here comes number 2, and that would be Deadpool, directed by Tim Miller, which came out this year from creator Rob Liefeld from Marvel Comics, and Ryan Reynolds does such an awesome job in this film. It is so true to the comics, and what more can I say? This movie was awesome. It was funny, it was action-packed, there was just a lot of funny dialogue, the references to X-Men and everything else was hilarious, and I just had such a great time. So Deadpool's number 2. Now you're probably wondering, if Deadpool's not number 1, then what would number 1 actually end up being? Well, that would be Dredd. Dredd is directed by Pete Travis. It came out in 2012, and it's based off of the 2080 comic strip from John Wagner and Carlos Esquera from Rebellion Developments. And this film was everything that I wanted and expected for a reboot of Judge Dredd. We got the Judge Dredd film in from Sylvester Stallone, and that was kind of crappy. And I think because of its crappiness, it made this new one, the reboot, look so much better. Dredd was awesome. Carl Urban just did such a fantastic job as, the jury, judge, and executioner. And man, I loved everything about this film. It ended up being one of my favorite films of that year. And also, the 3D was so awesome. It made the visual experience as a whole just so much greater. So my movie-going experience was so much more enjoyable because of the 3D. And to top things off, the movie itself was great. We got a great story. We have characters that were really well written, and of course everything about it, or a lot of things about it, is so true to the comics. So loved it, and I wish it did a lot better, because I would have loved to see them take the story to the next level. I would have loved to see other things take place in this universe, such as venturing off into the cursed earth, and also seeing Judge Death, and also a lot of other things that we could have seen. But unfortunately, it just ended up making a very minimal amount of money, and but I still love it, and it ends up being my number 1 R-rated comic book film. So there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. Once again, here's my list. Number 10, Kingsman: The Secret Service. Number 9, Blade. Number 8, Wanted. Number 7, Watchmen. Number 6, 300. Number 5, The Crow. Number 4, V for Vendetta. Number 3, KickAss. Number 2, Deadpool. Number 1, Dredd. And I gotta give honorary mention to Sin City and also Blade 2. Sin City was cool in the sense that it was a film that they totally took straight out of the comic books and made it into live action. They did a great job with that. I don't think it's like an amazing film, but I love the way it was. I love the way it ended up being made. I love that it looked like a comic book. It really looked like a comic book in live action. And of course, Blade 2, I loved it more than the original, but of course the original is still the original. But Blade 2 is still awesome. Anyways, that's all I gotta say in this video. Why don't you let me know what are your top 10 R-rated comic book films. There are a lot of them, so take some time to think about that and let me know your top 10 in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter, Ragin Nation. My name is Alex Yu. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Here's Forrest Whitaker. I have no clue what his role is. Now, this is a pretty cool scene because you see some fire in the background, and these are some kind of